drug contains the T virus. The T virus can make monsters.
Billions will die.
Everyone keep your mouth shut.
Oh, so heartwarming. Let's start the show.
I call President good. Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, but most importantly, that was not my spider. A lot of people are saying that's my spider. Bryce says, whose spider was that?
No, that's Netflix's spider. That is from their upcoming Resident Evil adaptation called Resident Evil. This is a new story about the T virus, and it turns people into zombies and stuff, but it looks like they're setting it in this very gated suburban kind of corporate community, a gated community run by Umbrella. But I don't know. The T virus already broke out, and then it breaks out again. So whatever. That's coming to Netflix July 14th, and it's live action also, not CG.
You know who else is live action but not CG? Our guest today from Ritual Misery, Kent Fellure. Welcome back, Kent.
Huzzah! So good to see you, Kent.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Was it your spider, Kent?
No. I used to play the Resident Evil games. Those are fun. The movies and the CG stuff, like it's I think it's the right level of corny. Like it's kind of fun, but you don't take it too seriously. And I think this is going to be more of the same of that.
I like having watched the trailers for Resident Evil.
I like knowing that they're out there in their residencies.
I really do. I see them,
evil.
I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. I should watch that someday.
I'm glad they're having fun out there. They're still doing it.
Exactly. I'm so good about
Look at them. They're just out there being all spooky and whatnot.
Good for you, champ.
T-zone.
Yeah. Oh, you got a slowed down adaptation of an old song. Oh, look at
you. Way to go. All right, let's get right into our primary target. Top Gun Maverick has topped $291 million in its first 2 weeks, already making it Tom Cruise's highest grossing film over War of the Worlds. That was Tom Cruise's highest grossing film before now. It's a movie that was supposed to come out in 2020, but in part due to Cruise's urging, never went straight to streaming, held off being one of the first films back in theaters. Variety's Rebecca Rubin has an article up called Hollywood, Don't Take the Wrong Lessons from Top Gun Maverick. Now, that it's a rather simple premise in this column. It's not being a sequel that makes it a successful movie. It's being good. Megan Colligan, the president of IMAX Entertainment, said the team was super protective about making sure the movie was going to be great before greenlighting it. Cruise has said in press junkets that he didn't want to make a sequel until there was the right story and the technology was better. Paramount's president of domestic distribution, Chris Aronson, put it even simpler. If you have a great story and execute it well, people will come to see it. A lot of critics are saying, I didn't expect to like this movie as much as I did, and I liked it. And certainly nostalgia was part of the appeal. 55% of moviegoers were 35 years or older, so they were at least aware of the original movie. But more people than expected saw it without ever seeing the original. In fact, the original topped some streaming charts because people went to Paramount Plus or downloaded it and rented it to watch it either again or in a lot of cases for the first time. So I feel like this is one of those milestones on the return to cinema, Brian, which is just, a solid movie makes solid money without being a superhero film and without being the, first one back. And it's on a Memorial Day weekend too.
Okay. So it's a good movie. We've all seen it, right?
Kent, did you see it? No,
Kent? I have not yet. I intend to, but I have not yet.
No, I haven't seen it.
Spoiler alert. The beginning is good. The end is good. There's a long 40 minutes in the middle where not a lot happens. I think that this is a success story of basically showing up at the right time where the whole world just wants to feel normal. And what would be more normal than going and seeing a Top Gun movie? It's not a particularly great Top Gun movie. I would even, in many ways, put the first one ahead of this one. Here's a pro tip. If you want to have an enemy, maybe call them something other than the enemy.
I don't know about that. I thought that was actually a strength in the movie, that you weren't sitting there thinking like, well, why'd they pick China? Russia would have been a better pick now. The fact that they were vague about it let us sort of fill in the blanks and make it whoever happened to be the enemy when they released it, which right now, for a lot of people in the West, would be Russia.
You know what? 100% point seated. Let me give a new point. Maybe have a protagonist that has literally any flaws. One flaw. And your flaw can't be, my only flaw is that I love too much. Because that is quite literally his only flaw.
Kent, what do you think?
So I work with a lot of Air Force fighter pilots, and they pretty much all watched it opening weekend, and they loved it. They praised the like technical accuracy and stuff like that. They said it was the most realistic like fighter jet movie that they've ever seen, and things like that. So they didn't comment a whole lot on the story, but as far as like the fighter jets and how they work and enemy engagement and all that sort of stuff, they really enjoyed that. So I put a lot of faith in their opinion, at least as far as that goes. But as far as story goes, I still want to see it. It feels like a movie to see on the big screen. So I'm actually looking forward to watching it.
I also wonder, Brian, and I'm not contradicting your identification of the flawless character, but I'm wondering if there isn't a little bit of an appetite for that, a little bit of an appetite for like old. When I say old, I'm talking like 20s and 30s Hollywood of like, yeah, you know what? Maybe every once in a while we just want to know the good guy's going to win, and that he doesn't have a whole lot of flaws. Like maybe it's a comfort blanket for some people.
You honestly don't even need to go that far back. I mean, look right after 9/11 when 24 hit the scene, and there was one character, and that was that he was going to do what was right. Whatever the laws, I'm gonna take this lamp and torture somebody. I got the answer though, and it's 24. Sometimes you have to do the terrible thing or so on. I got some of those vibes. I will give a tip of the hat for far and away the most realistic depiction of post 50-year-old sex that I'd ever seen in a movie. A man and a woman lay down in bed, chit chat for a little bit. Suddenly the guy's got his shirt off and a kid is coming in saying, "Mom!" Like, that was great. I loved all of that.
I made the mistake of accidentally saying the actors flew their planes, and had people jump on me quickly to point out the actors flew in the planes. They didn't fly the planes, but I think that was also a strength and by all accounts, it was apparently Tom Cruise that insisted on this. I'm not sure how much of it was him in the entire production, but whatever. They got the actors in jets that were obviously flown by military pilots, but we're able to put cameras in there and have them be in the jets, not in a green screen.
This is the part that makes me uncomfortable. Tom Cruise, the human, seems to love the idea of having a movie where Tom Cruise, the human, does amazing flying around stuff. And in this case, Tom Cruise, the human, was not only able to singularly decide when this was going to be released, but also decided that the plot needed to involve a bunch of 20-something actors going up in planes and being made to vomit while he, the human Tom Cruise, looked awesome. And you might say, Brian, that's just the movie. Clearly there was other stuff, to which I would point to, well, how did they promote the movie? He went around to a bunch of late night hosts, put them in fighter pilot jets, flew them around, and they all threw up, and Tom Cruise, the human, was awesome. At some point, Tom Cruise, the person's obsession with appearing to be superhuman, everything from his contractual obligation to be de-aged so that he never appears over 50, starts to make me feel gross about all of this. Now, having said that, he has done amazing movies. I would like to see more Edge of Tomorrows than Top Gun Mavericks.
because it's a different plot, because it's an original plot line?
Because it's not just a Hollywood multimillionaire stunting on everybody younger than him and laughing that he's good at things.
They didn't have to take that job. So is it a power dynamic where you think he bullied them into taking these roles?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the words I should have said. I think he bullies people. I think he's a bully. I don't like. I've read one too many Scientology books. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah. So there's that aspect which is off screen that you don't like, and I think that's worth talking about. The other part of this, though, is that to get back to the timing, no matter what you think of Cruise or even the movie itself, this is different in that it showed that there is an appetite to go into the theaters. Remember, for 2 years, we're like talking about, will people want to go back into the theaters? And a lot of folks in our audience were like, nope, people aren't going back to theaters. It's all going to be day and date. It's all going to be streaming. And I was skeptical of that. And I think this shows why, while things have changed and more movies are going to go straight to streaming than ever before, and the window has certainly shortened, there's still an appetite for certain movies that aren't from Marvel, that will draw people into the theaters, even people who are not, your typical young audience, which will normally go to the theaters more than the older audience. In this case, they got an older audience.
Yes, 100%. And to be honest, I'm thrilled. The summer blockbuster is back. That means we can get back to so many normal things, like going to summer blockbusters, doing the summer movie draft, doing all the things that we love to celebrate on this very show.
Yeah. And Ken, I know you haven't seen it, so I feel like we're leaving you out by talking about so much about the plot of the movie and the things that are in it. But why didn't you go see it? I'm curious. Like, was it just time, or do you not have as much interest?
Yeah, no, I've got the interest. It's mostly time. Lots of family stuff going on. There's so much to watch right now. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet. But about Tom Cruise, though, like, I've always enjoyed him as a performer, but I've noticed, like, I tend to stay away from like celebrity gossip type stuff and like behind the scenes with actors and stuff like that, because I'm usually disappointed with whoever it is. It's very rare that I come across somebody like, oh, that's a sweet person, So I try to not pay attention to like the grosser aspects of Hollywood and celebrities and stuff like that.
I think the fact that you said there is too much to watch and you didn't make it into the theater is an interesting point, though, because I think a lot of people thought that there would be more Kents and that and that you wouldn't see 291 million go to Top Gun because of that. So
right.
I do think it is unusual, though. I do think that this isn't proving that every film can do this. And I do think that this article from Rebecca Rubin makes a good point, which is it has to be the right kind of movie. They tend to skew in this article towards like, it's just a good movie and that's why it worked. I think they may be underplay. They talk about it, but they underplay the fact that it was Tom Cruise, it was Top Gun, and it's at a time when there's a need, as we talked about, for distraction that makes you feel good, right? And doesn't have a whole lot of flawed characters or what little flaws they have, like not being able to pay the bar tab, are easily overcome, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it's got to be worth noting that, we saw a similar level of success with the Doctor Strange movie, but then we saw an immediate fall off because it was a weird movie that appealed to weird audiences, but everybody showed up the very first day. In this case, we have a evergreen movie. People fly the planes, they defeat the enemy who's never identified, and he gets the girl, which I guess he already had, but just came back to collect. It's all of this feels like timing.
A lot of it's timing. I think a lot of it was, I would give credit to the fact that they balanced nostalgia with a new story. They could have just cashed a check and this is certainly what Rebecca Rubin's saying in a Variety article, they could have just cashed a check and thrown stuff up there and said, hey, it's a Top Gun movie, and people would have gone to see it, but they wouldn't come back for the second weekend. The fact that they had some Harold Faltermeyer music, they played Danger Zone, they gave a nod here and there, but they did those outside of the main plot and had their own plot that was independent of that. And granted, Brian, you're absolutely right that plot may or may not be super strong and may be reliant on effects and other things, but it wasn't just a pure nostalgia play. And I thought that was probably a smart balancing act that they achieved.
And I think at this point we conjoin where it's they did bother to make a solid movie, but I would contend that its financial success has more to do with a competent movie that is basically a press release to the world that you could go back to the movie theaters.
Yeah, and John Hamm will be there waiting for you.
Yeah, being the bad guy. Ugh,
yeah.
I didn't believe that.
John Hamm's the bad guy?
Yes. Ed Harris is the bad guy. Ed Harris shows up. I'm going to fire everyone. What? You're not going to fire them. I'm going to fly real fast. Ed Harris literally says, oh, he's got balls. John Hamm, I'm not going to lie. You were not my first recommendation, but Iceman, Val Kilmer said so there.
Yeah. He's not a bad guy, Bryce, in the sense of like the villain. He's against Tom Cruise's. He's against Maverick. He's opposed to Maverick. Maverick's no good.
Gotcha.
Okay, you know what?
We were just describing.
Let me translate Tommy's. He's not saying he's the antagonist. Let's just say that the enemy, whoever they are, gives Tom Cruise less guff than John Hamm does.
That's not what. No, you're not translating me properly. I'm saying that John Hamm is a member of the U.S. military, and he doesn't try to like knife Tom Cruise's character or anything like that.
Neither does the enemy.
Man, they at least shoot at him.
They're all on the ground. They should get up in the air.
You mentioned Val Kilmer. I almost forgot. Val Kilmer returning to play Iceman, and they wrote his personal problems into the story. They wrote that Iceman has. They're sort of vague about what the disease is, but if you don't know, Val Kilmer has a raspy voice now because of throat cancer, and they basically made that part of the storyline that Iceman has a raspy voice and can't talk a lot now.
And I, from what I've read, that was at the insistence of Tom Cruise. Also, I believe they ADR'd all of his lines. That's somebody else's voice, raspily coming out of
doing the raspy stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. That's interesting to know. But he's there on screen typing most of the time. His line.
Which again, was deeply effective, and some might call it cheap pop at the emotions. Not me.
Is it a cheap pop if it's true and real and you bring the guy back?
You better ask whoever it was that I was quoting, because it wasn't me.
And plus it probably wasn't cheap. They probably had to pay a lot for it.
Okay.
All right. You know what is cheap? Us. You can have us for $1. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
All right, you say that. A lot of people say that. You can have me for $1. But what do you get, Tom? What do we just show up and sort of distractedly sign your copy of Spider-Man issue 1?
Not us. No. We give you a full 2.5 episodes of content for $1 every time.
Oh, yeah, but we fill it up with a bunch of ads and stuff, right? We try to screw you over some way.
Not a single one that isn't about me or you, Brian.
Oh, okay. Well then,
Or computers.
Sounds to me like we're gonna do this either way. I'm realizing I've written a trap for ourselves. Why should people bother to give us money to do this show?
Because you get value out of it. If you get value out of our show, you should give us a little value back. And $1, doesn't go as far as it used to. So you don't have to value us as much. It's really simple. Give us that dollar that's worth like 25 cents.
We need to hire a poet. We need to hire a poet to do these ads.
All right, let's talk about the important part. It is the beginning of June, and I am looking at the number of subscribers, and we have 997, and that means I have 3-digit disease, and I just need 3 people to sign up for just $1 an episode. Come on, man. It'll matter. We'll defeat the enemy.
We only need 3 of you, and it's only 25 cents.
I hope I'm not the enemy.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's talk about how to watch. The Sports Business Journal says the NFL is expected to launch its own streaming service called NFL Plus this July, offering mobile service, basically previously offered by Verizon when Verizon and Yahoo were one company. Reportedly, the service will be offered for mobile phones and tablets, cost you $5 a month. It'll let you watch whatever live games would show in your local market over your mobile phone. It's possible this could get rolled into a deal for NFL Sunday Ticket, which leaves DirecTV at the end of this coming season. But for this coming season, it will be direct from the NFL, only on mobile. So NFL taking a little control, very small, just the mobile part, of its own content, which is interesting. But even more interesting is the first regional sports network to go direct to consumers. Up until now, regional sports networks, which are the ones that show the majority of a team's games in a local market, have only been available on cable or a cable-like streaming package like YouTube TV. Even then, not all of them are on the streaming service. NESN, the New England Sports Network, home of the Boston Red Sox and the Boston Bruins, is going straight to viewers over the internet in New England. You have to be in their region, but then you can pay $30 a month, which they will pay, by the way. This is the first of a trend. Sinclair, which operates the Bally Sports Nets, and NBC Universal, which operates several regional sports nets, are both planning direct consumer offerings as well. And even if you don't like sports, this is good news. It's a sign that the money is moving to streaming. And while there's a lot of work to be done on how this is all going to end up working when the sports arrives, that brings a lot more focused attention to how this all works.
Ken, I am not terribly sports centric. However, I do have a vague memory of 6 or 7 years ago on this program, us talking about how entangled all of the sports networks were with cable deals. And my impression was back then, it was just like shrug, time's going to run out sometime. Is this purely a case, do you suspect, of the contracts running out, or is this innovative new moves that nobody saw coming?
No, I mean, I think this is where it's going, right? I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. Eventually, like, all of the contracts are going to run out, and it's going to be more direct to streaming. And in fact, I got really excited when I saw this headline about the NFL doing a streaming service until I got into the weeds of the article, and it was talking about what I had been doing for free for the last couple of years, watching NFL games on my Yahoo Sports app. They're talking about just taking that over from Yahoo, but charging you $5 a month. And that was super disappointing to me because I don't have a cable subscription. I don't want to pay, even for like YouTube TV or something like that, like $70 a month just to watch my sports. And then like things like NFL Sunday Ticket and like the NBA network and things like that. They're so expensive and they don't even show you all the games. So I thought I was going to be excited about this news, but ultimately I'm disappointed. I'm really looking forward to the day where I can pay an affordable price to get all of the sports that I want to watch and actually get all of my games and get the value and just completely divorced from cable and cable replacement. So
this is how you get that. The $30 price is probably not going to stick. That is, I don't know whether that is we know fewer people are going to do it, so we have to monetize it high, or we had to set it this high in order to get the cable companies to let us get away with it. Whatever it is, that you have to do this first for it to become normal for all the regional sports nets to go directly to you. You have to do that before you can get all of those regional restrictions and blackouts to finally get resolved, and for the regional sports nets to say, okay, well, if you cut us in on the money, then you can do that because we're not dealing with cable. You have to get off all of those cable agreements for any of that stuff you're complaining about to happen. So while this isn't the one thing that will solve it for you, this is the thing that has to happen. And it has to happen more than once for all of that to finally get worked out.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic about where this is going. This is just a painful first step. We're just gonna have to deal with it, I think, for another year or two. Yeah,
and it is, Brian, I think it is, even for non-sports fans, important, because once money is being paid to direct streaming, suddenly a lot more people are going to be saying, okay, but how do we clean this up and make it easy to find the things you want to watch? There was a person on Twitter this weekend complaining about the fact that they were a fan of watching the New York Yankees, and the Yankees were on 3 different services. At least one of them was free. You could watch the baseball on Apple TV for free, but then you either had to have a Yes Network subscription through a cable company, or and pay $5 a month to Peacock if you wanted to watch all of the games. And once more people are paying attention to this, there will be an easier way to navigate all that, is my guess.
I certainly hope so. If nobody's heard it before, my favorite solution is cancel everything, buy whatever you want, cancel it again.
Yeah, but I'm talking about having that platform that you've been wanting, where the device can tell you, hey, you like watching this, click here and watch it, without you having to go find what app it's on. That becomes more possible when you get more of these kinds of services going straight to the consumer.
Yes. And until then, I will buy whatever I want, cancel immediately.
Sure. And that too. All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
Lots of Star Wars news out of Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. The first trailer for Disney Plus's Ahsoka, which is coming in 2023, was shown to attendees. It has not been put online officially yet. However, it reveals that the story of the series will be that Ahsoka teams up with Sabine Wren, a character from Star Wars Rebels, to search for Ezra Bridger from Star Wars Rebels, and therefore probably Grand Admiral Thrawn, although that wasn't part of the trailer. Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels was shown from behind in the trailer, but no casting news on her was given. However, Natasha Liu Bordizzo showed up to announce that she'll be playing Sabine. We've got other Star Wars stuff to talk about, but any quick impressions on that?
I'm super excited for this. I'm a little bit of a Star Wars fanboy anyway, but Rebels was one of my favorite Star Wars properties to come out in the last several years. So I'm excited to see the live action continuation of where we left this series. Looking for Ezra, almost certainly Grand Admiral Thrawn. I was really happy to see that Hera is going to be in this series. I am super excited for this.
So it has been. It makes sense that the journey towards some of the rich content that was in the expanded universe set of novels is happening by way of the animated series first, and then on and on and on, building on that. Is there any chance that we get a full-on live-action Thrawn as anti-hero series, like The Shield, like just straight up, somebody's on the borderlands, his empire has crumbled around him, he's going to try to make things right, it's Admiral Thrawn?
If I'm right about Thrawn being in Ahsoka, which I might be wrong about, but there's a lot of other people who think this too, then the next step is, people really liked that in the Ahsoka series. Let's create a series around Thrawn, which fits into what they've been saying about not wanting to follow the Skywalker saga. And so that gives you a chance to venture outside of that. So yeah, I'd say if there's a path to that, that's the path.
Yeah, I think if he's portrayed well in the Ahsoka series, assuming that he's in that series, I could definitely see that happening, because there's a current run of Thrawn novels that are in the new canon, where he kind of is like, I guess, like an anti-hero sort of thing. So I could definitely see that being a possibility.
A trailer for the Disney Plus series Andor was released online. It's coming August 31st. 12 episodes will be a part 1, and another 12 episodes are already going into production in November. They've already approved a second part. They're not calling it a second season. If you don't remember, Andor will focus on the character Cass Andor, who was a character in the movie Rogue One, but the series takes place 5 years before the events of that movie. And I'll be honest, Brian, I have not been excited about this particular movie. I didn't particularly love that character. And then I watched this trailer and I thought, that looks more interesting than I thought it would.
It's a good trailer. I just don't know how much I trust trailers anymore, or even Disney's handling of the Star Wars universe.
A few other Star Wars related announcements. The Mandalorian will return to Disney Plus in February with Katie Sackhoff returning as Bo-Katan. A trailer for season 2 of The Bad Batch was released, coming to Disney Plus this autumn. Later this year's Tales of the Jedi will be a 6-episode anthology of animated shorts with stories from the prequel era, including Ahsoka's origin story and her palling around with Count Dooku. Young Jedi Adventures comes to Disney Plus and Disney Junior in 2023, focusing on younglings learning the Force, another prequel era story. And more animated one-offs will come in a second round of Star Wars Visions in the spring next year, with production houses outside of Japan this time. The first round was all Japanese houses. This will have French, Korean, and other houses as well. Kent, what about all the rest of this?
Yeah, no, I'm here for all of it. Like I said, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I'm almost certainly going to watch all of it. Andor seemed interesting with a lot of like world building and stuff. I thought it was kind of weird that Cassian Andor himself was only in the trailer for like a second. So who knows what the story's going to be, but it looks like it's pretty rich in as far as world building goes. And then the rest of it, hey, like I said, I'm on board.
A new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder came out, showing Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Thor coming to theaters July 8th. Brian, how you feeling about this one?
Look, I love it. I hate that I'm a Yankees fan now, and I just want everything Taika Waititi touches to be gold. Sorry, he's good, he's great. Everything he touches turns out to be gold.
Yeah?
Yeah. In Taika we trust. Absolutely. I'm excited for this.
I just hate that if I want to watch Taika on Friday, it's on Apple TV, but then Taika on Saturday is on the Yes Network. And
I mean, don't get me wrong. Part of me is very shallow and wants to see him trip and fall, but he ain't done it yet. And in the meantime, I've loved everything he's done. So until then, I'm going to keep on cheering.
Netflix is having its Geeked Week of ongoing announcements that we will cover in full next time on Cordkillers, I guess, because there's probably more announcements coming the rest of this week since it's called Geeked Week. But among the things they announced today, a trailer for The Sandman, Neil Gaiman's graphic novel adapted into a TV series, and it got a date. It'll arrive on Netflix August 5th.
That was originally penned by, is it Mobius that did the original?
Did the original which?
The comic book. It's one of those that I always knew I was supposed to read but never read. Sorry.
It tells the story of Morpheus, the Lord of Dreams, but Neil Gaiman wrote it.
Yeah, I'm speaking of the drawings. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Comic talk. I picked the wrong factoid.
And the trailer looks good. I watched this trailer and I thought, is this like a what were those vampire movies? Is this like a Twilight sort of thing almost? Like, because it is a little edgy. It is kind of high, almost urban fantasy. It looked cool. I thought it was a cool trailer.
Yeah, I looked at the trailer though, and I thought the trailer looked interesting. So there's that. Disney released a trailer for the live-action Pinocchio, which I also never read, starring Tom Hanks as Geppetto, with Jiminy Cricket played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, coming to Disney Plus. Not going to theaters, coming to Disney Plus on September 8th.
This one I am more familiar with than I am excited about. And apparently that's it.
What about you?
Yeah, sure, why not?
I thought that Tom Hanks would bother me as much as he did in the Elvis trailer, but he didn't. Although he still sounds like Tom Hanks doing an old man's voice, not naturally Geppetto. And I just think it's interesting that they went straight to Disney Plus on it.
Yeah, is that a clue as to how much effort they put into it? Question mark.
I don't know if it's a clue about effort or expectation.
Yeah.
It tends to be, we don't think this will draw people into the theaters for whatever reason.
Well, That and Disney Plus is doing really, really well on the streaming side.
That too.
I understand the sacrifice of putting stuff on streaming instead of in the theaters.
And also, I bet Disney has a lot of good information about this. When Disney Plus launched, they did the remakes of Lady and the Tramp that they had done. They've been doing all of these remakes for a decade now. They know exactly which ones should and shouldn't be in theaters and which ones will and will not make good and bad PR. Like The Lion King, I thought the Lion King remake that they did a few years ago was really good, but a lot of people don't like it because they marketed it very, very wrong. And I think they know all those lessons.
And likewise, in a alternate pandemic timeline, I could totally see Chip and Dale crushing it in the theaters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, I don't know if it's as simple as this is bad. That's why they stuck it on Disney Plus. Because this is When You Wish Upon a Star movie. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe there's more calculations to it. However, I want to finish this segment with Winnie the Pooh entering the public domain this year, which has led a UK-based production house called Jagged Edge Productions to produce Blood and Honey, a horror film about Pooh and Piglet turning feral after Christopher Robin goes off to college. Spoiler, they eat Eeyore.
So this is the boogeyman that Disney, hires lawyers to go lobby Congress to extend copyright law, because it's like, how terrible would it be if Disney creations were available for anybody to play with? And here we have all of them except for Tigger, who was a Disney creation, in pretty much the worst case scenario, except for porn parodies or whatever. Guess what? Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Seems like it'll be fine. And yeah, they can't use anything that Disney created around the product. They can only use the original product. So no Tigger. That's a good point. All right. Let's get to what we've had our eyes on. Starting with you, Kent. What's something you've been watching these days?
Yeah, so besides Better Call Saul and Obi-Wan Kenobi, I started Stranger Things. My God, there's a lot of content there. Like, each episode is almost an hour and a half long. It's basically feature-length episodes, and there's 7 of them. And this is only the first half of the season. So I've been trying to catch up with that. I'm only a few episodes in at this point. But the thing that's been keeping my attention, though, is the NBA Finals. Been watching a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. So 2 games in. Do you have a team that you cheer for?
Yeah, Golden State. That's my son's favorite team because he's a big Steph Curry fan, and I just kind of bandwagoned along with him.
And how do you watch it? Do you watch it on cable, or do you have a streaming service for it?
So I got the free trial of DirecTV Stream, and then because that trial ran out, and then Golden State went to the finals, I'm now paying. So
there you go. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Brian, what about you?
There was an article I stumbled across saying that this movie was about to leave Amazon Prime. It's from Oscilloscope. It's called Coherence. I guess I'll spoil the first act of 3. Boy, I love movies that appear very much to be unscripted, where people are just chit-chatting and they eventually get around to the point. You're kind of Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of vibes, right? So in this case, there's a dinner party. You're busy focused on who used to date who and who brought who to the party, but a comet goes over and weird things happen. And I guess that's all I'll say.
All right. It sounds cool. I'm going to give another shout out to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It is the show that when it shows up as like a new episode is there, I am immediately ready to watch it every week. It's not, by my own critical estimation, the best show I watch every week, but I just really will always enjoy watching it because it is striking that chord that of nostalgia for me for those old original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine types of stories. So yeah, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, very enjoyable for me. Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey there, everybody. We should be on the lookout for this pick that Josh sent in. Josh writes, "Hi, team. I would like to recommend a new show on Netflix called The Lincoln Lawyer. It has a great cast. and a really good series-long story that will keep you hooked, and it ends each episode in a manner ensuring you will be binging this. It is from David E. Kelly, who has a mixed bag, but this is one of his better ones. This is a breezy series-length whodunit that is really interesting. Thanks, Josh M. Thank you, Josh M. Yeah, there are 10 episodes of this new... So you might remember The Lincoln Lawyer as a film. This is not that. This is a series because it's based off a book. But this is now streaming on Netflix. There are 10 episodes of that there. And if you want, the original film is on HBO and HBO Max right now. So get a lot of Lincoln in your life. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, please. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Brian, someone gave us a bunch of computers, and now we need help paying for them.
Yeah, well, gave implies that we own them. Really, they're just on long-term loan, and it's only our ability to convince everybody that they should go to doghousesystems.com/rogue, use promo code ROGUE at checkout, get an extra SSD at checkout. By the way, this upcoming week, we're going to make a field trip, head up to Dallas. I'm actually going to build a doghouse system myself that we're going to give away, so be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, keep us alive, afloat, and super stoked. Almost rhymed. It's fine.
All of those things. Let's move on to the front lines.
Frontlines!
If you don't like the Apple TV app on your iPhone, Google has launched the Google TV app as a replacement. It also replaces Google Play Movies and TV, which was the way to watch your purchased movies from Google on iOS. But it will also let you track your viewing on other services, Hulu, for instance. They have to participate, though, and Netflix doesn't participate, so you're not going to get all of them. It can be used also as a remote control for Chromecasts and other Android TV-based devices.
Am I hearing you right that the Google app will allow you to access your Apple TV content?
I don't know that Apple TV is part of this, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Right. Got it. Meanwhile, lots of people got caught up on Better Call Saul before the final season began, and that seems to have helped AMC. The Nielsen ratings rose 87% in the 3 days after it aired, meaning loads of people watched it on demand, and a lot of them were paying for AMC Plus to do it, as the audience for the app was up 61% since Better Call Saul Season 6 premiered. The last 6 episodes of the series will return on July 11th. I will admit, Tom, I watched the mid-season break episode. I lied and didn't tell my wife that I watched it. We watched it together, and I was amazed at how it ended. And then we definitely went back and watched the beginning of season 5, because canonically, I believe that is the farthest chronologically of a peak that we get to get.
Yeah. That I think a lot of people are doing that, and I think AMC is smart and benefiting from that. So I think a lot of people misunderstand what AMC Plus is or haven't even heard about it. And this was a great way where having Netflix have the past seasons actually paid off in getting people to subscribe to AMC Plus.
Yep.
Restofworld.org has a story on how the Netflix password sharing crackdown is being perceived in Peru, Chile, and Costa Rica. Netflix is testing the system, which means some people see different prices for adding an out-of-house member to their plan. That's going to confuse people as they all compare notes. That's understandable. Netflix is trying to determine what price gets the most people to sign up, which is why they're doing that. It's a test. People are also curious what determines whether you're selected as being out of household or not. That's because they want to game the system. And so Netflix is not making it clear how they determine whether you're out of the household or not. And others are confused by the fact that Netflix doesn't force you to add payment, even if they catch you. That has been clear since the beginning. But now that it's actually out there and people run into it, they're like, wait, but I can just say, dismiss this notification and keep watching, and you don't do anything. And that's confusing people too.
Yes, and TikTok is getting into the paid series game with a comedy docu-series called Finding Jericho, hosted by Jericho Menke. I hope I said that right. The 8-episode series of 30-minute episodes will cost $5.
And we're both going to be wrong about everything we've thought for the past 10 years, and TikTok will be the new platform for all TV within 10 years.
I don't know. TikTok is the place where I want an adult to just tell me, shut up, you're going to watch this. And I'm like, okay, looks good.
You say that now.
I know.
A few other notes here. Warrior Nun Season 2 is coming to Netflix this winter. A new teaser trailer is out. An animated series of shorts called I Am Groot comes to Disney Plus August 10th. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming to Disney Plus June 22nd. That's the one that was in theaters. If you want to watch it on Disney Plus, that's when it comes there. Netflix ordered a second season of Is It Cake? So if you like the first season, you're going to get more. It's still hosted by Mikey Day. Manifest Season 4 coming to Netflix this autumn. We got trailers for Wednesday, an Addams Family spinoff also coming in the autumn. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities coming later this year. And that new Resident Evil movie that we talked about at the beginning arrives July 14th. HBO Max ordered a second season of Our Flag Means Death.
Woohoo!
And in other Taika Waititi news, FX renewed What We Do in the Shadows for seasons 5 and 6.
Woohoo!
Jodie Foster will star in a fourth season of True Detective to be set in Alaska and the Arctic Circle. No woohoo. Okay. Disney Plus released a teaser trailer for the new Willow series coming November 30th. And finally, Netflix released a teaser for the third and final season of Lock and Key and announced that season will arrive on August 10th.
Do you think we're going to get like I don't know, Hannibal vibes from the True Detective from Jodie Foster?
I hadn't thought about Hannibal. Maybe. I was thinking it was more like Alive vibes because you're in Iceland.
Sure. And she's eating people.
Maybe something's eating people and maybe they think it's her. And then you get the Hannibal vibes. Yeah. I don't know. Kent?
I'm pretty excited for the Willow series. I can't really predict if it's going to be any good, but I know that Willow was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. So I'm all in for that. But the most important news out of this whole thing is seasons 5 and 6 of What We Do in the Shadows. Like I am really, really looking forward to that. That show is basically can do no wrong in my eyes.
Look, man, I'm game. I'm 100% in. It's just getting real hard to root for the Yankees. I don't want to be a Yankees fan.
Yeah, let's go, Taika. All right, let's move on to the dispatches from the front. Chris writes in and says, does the Disney cable channel have advertising? Because we were talking about Disney Plus is going to offer a version of its service with advertising. Chris says, does the cable channel have advertising? I never had it as a kid, so I'm not sure if they and longtime Disney subscribers might already have some experience with ads on Disney. That would certainly make it easier to swallow. Either way, I don't think it's a big deal for Disney. It potentially opens up the channel to more subscribers who might not otherwise afford it.
I think I alluded to this, but maybe I wasn't clear. My goodness, if you're ever like out at a hotel and turn on the Disney Channel, yes, they have ads, and they're the same 3 ads every 20 minutes all day long. It is astonishing. Whatever relationship they have, they're very, very tightly tied to their ad partners.
Yeah, another way of saying that is, boy, do they have ads. Like, that is not a new thing for Disney at all. So, yeah.
But I do want to differentiate because there are certain channels that it's like it's a billion different ads. They're, programmatic. They're whatever, somebody's selling them, in the aftermarket or whatever. It's pretty clear that the Disney Channel is being selective about who they partner with. But once they partner, boy, do you get a lot of those ads.
Yeah. Yeah. I never, I shouldn't say never, but I haven't watched a lot of Disney on cable. I have watched before Star Wars Rebels was available in other ways. I have watched on the Disney app when Star Wars Rebels was only on the Disney Channel. And I got exactly what you're talking about with a lot of repetition. Kent, do you have any experience watching Disney Channel on cable?
Not in a long time. Like with Rebels, I would just buy the seasons on Amazon. So yeah, I haven't dealt with Disney in quite a while.
Yeah. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Kent, thank you so much for being with us today. If folks want to find more of what you got going on these days, where should they go?
Yeah, so there's always ritualmisery.com. My partner Amos and I do a monthly show now where we get on a guest and we talk about a nerdy topic. Recent episode, we had Richard Gunther on to talk about the NASA's Artemis program. So check that out. Also, I want to mention dcstreamathon.org. The big thing that us Ritual Misery folks do every year is the New Year's Eve Streamathon. And we actually had our first production meeting just this past weekend about it. So we're starting to ramp that up and look for some updates in the coming months. I know we're not even quite halfway through the year yet, but this is kind of a monster project that takes a whole lot of planning in advance. So we're ramping that up. So look for news there soon. dcstreamathon.org. It's
the only way to ring in the New Year's in Vanuatu and every other time zone on the planet.
That's right.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, also carried on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful names.
I'm sorry, I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, like, because we're addicted.
As long as it's consensual, like,
we're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.